Denis Schluppeck for Financial Times.
I'm a British Science Association Media Fellow. I've been placed with the Financial Times in London, and I've already spent a week with Clive Cookson at the Science and Environment Desk in DFT in London. At the moment I'm here in Swansea for the British Science Festival, and I'm covering stories for the Financial Times. Already I got a couple of pieces out from the first and the second day. I'm just waiting to go to another press conference to see whether I can write a story about some interesting archaeological findings. And when I come back from the press briefing, I'll be working on my piece, get it ready for 3-4 o'clock and see whether the news desk will like it and put it into tomorrow's newspaper. It's been pretty fascinating actually. So I've met quite a few of the science journalists from other newspapers, from the Daily Telegraph, the Mail, the Times, where some of the other media fellows have been placed. And it's fascinating to see how they quiz the scientists and the process of the press releases, and how careful they actually are in trying to get the real story out, but at the same time making it interesting for the readers.
And your mentor has just sat down alongside us here. He's busy working away.
I don't know how.
No, he's busy having breakfast.
Clive, can you just tell me how well Denis has been doing regarding...
Brilliantly. And say that with total enthusiasm, Denis has been fantastic. I threw him in at the deep end. In his first week, he wrote 2 stories. He's done 2 already here at the the British Science Festival. Was it 3? No, he's got the right instinct.
Much editing to be done?
Very little.
I've been on placement with the BBC. I just actually finished last Friday. So I came straight from the placement into the British Science Festival. It was a very eye-opening experience, as you might imagine. 3 weeks working with BBC Radio Science Unit and also doing some stuff for the BBC website. It was my first experience of working with broadcast media. I have a greater appreciation for our journalist colleagues now, for sure, and I know that I don't want to be a journalist, that's for sure. I think probably for me the biggest realization was in terms of the time frame, the time horizon that we operate with. For me, if I have a deadline 3 or 6 months in ahead of time, that already is quite a tight deadline. Whereas at the BBC, we were working to a weekly schedule where the show had to be put out on Thursday afternoon without fail. We had to have 29 minutes and 26 seconds. And if we didn't have that, we'd be in deep trouble. So everything during the week was running to that routine. And you'd get to Wednesday afternoon and you still have 5-minute spot that you haven't filled, or the interviews that you need to complete a story haven't come through yet, or you're waiting for people to, in California to get back to you, and there's a 8-hour time difference, and they're not calling you and not getting back on the email. It's extremely stressful. I mean, it's really, really stressful thinking that you might not have a show. And the other thing is the turnaround times that you have working on news stories for the website. Whereas I might take 6 months to write a paper, they're asking me to write a story in 3 hours.
I was surprised at the kind of stories that the science writers deal with. And I think before going to an organization like the Times, I imagined that the science team was going to be a dozen people in a room, and each had their own specialism and their own area of expertise, and that they could draw on that. Then you find out that, well, no, it's a team of 2, and they are writing about everything from, well, one day it could be particle physics, and the next day it could be experimental biology, and the next day it could be some social science article. So I was surprised and in awe at what these people actually do.
Once a year we get a science media fellow sent to us by the British Science Association, who comes into the office for sort of a fortnight or 3 weeks, and then they come and do the British Science Festival with us. The reason why we chose Spencer out of the 4 or 5 applications that were sent to us was in his application he demonstrated a real, first of all, a sense of humour, which was quite outstanding, but also a ability to write in concrete terms and not to lapse back into sort of academies.
How's it all been going?
Well, frankly, it's a bit embarrassing because Spencer comes in fresh from academia, and journalists like to think that the job that they do requires some level of specialist skill, and we've been exposed. It really doesn't. Spencer had acquired the knack of writing sparkling copy within about 2 or 3 days, and since then he's been almost entirely autonomous. It's very clear, crisp, concrete writing that he does, which I think is a very important quality to take into journalism, and maybe not one that always necessarily comes very easily to researchers. And the other thing that I think he's demonstrated is the ability to really interrogate the material that's in front of him, even in fields of scientific research that are well outside his day job.
I think it's very important for scientists to find out how it really works in the media, which you can't find out just by reading newspapers and magazines or online or watching television or listening to the radio. You can just get the output, but if you're actually in there doing it, you realise the constraints. They then go back to their labs, their universities, and put the word out to their colleagues, as well as they themselves, I hope, benefiting, because Denis, I think, will be an even better communicator of science to students and others after this.